Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And one or both of us could be Batman. We could not be Batman. You don't know.
Have you ever seen us and Batman in a room at the same time?
I will say, out of the two of us, I'm the one wearing the Batman shirt.
It's true.
So welcome to our weekly live show. They are ordinarily on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock, except for probably the next several live shows because we're busy during the summer.
Summer just gets weird
because we're like our live show isn't going to be like the normal time next week either. Because I have a gig, and then I think the next week after that we're seeing Indy 5, so that's going to mess up everything. And so,
whatever, we're here now.
I'm going to scoot over a little bit so I'm a little closer to you. Thanks for joining us. Let me get my notes up here. So this is mostly not going to be we actually have like a lot of Star Wars stuff. Like last week we did I think Spider-Verse last week, right? Mm-hmm. We got some Star Wars news in the realm of Star Wars gaming, which was really exciting. Ended up something like really huge happened.
Yeah, well, last week was not E3. It's the week in summer where every game company announces what they got coming up, and we finally saw Ubisoft's Star Wars game.
Yeah, I think it was really funny how I don't know how everyone didn't just I don't know why everyone was like, why do we all do E3? Like, why don't we just do our own thing?
Yeah.
And then everyone just started doing their own thing. Because the E3 is the one thing that doesn't happen anymore, right?
Yeah, E3 was yet another victim of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think it was a victim of companies figuring out they can make YouTube channels. And that's all they need.
Little column A, little column B.
Also, some writers strike woes. Mm-hmm. That's going to affect the Star Wars universe quite a bit. And then you and I, just 2 hours ago, went to go see The Flash in theaters. And we're going to talk about that too, because we have thoughts.
If you see me doing strange things, it's because Daniel's dog Jack has joined us.
He's kind of
and he's very cuddlesome.
He's kind of an attention whore. So while you're here, well, first of all, thank you to Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas, our friend who runs a pretty cool thing over on Facebook. So go check that out. And while you're here, click like, subscribe to our channel, share the stream. The Discord link, our Discord link is in the description. Ordinarily, we have Battlefront 2 after this, but we're not going to do that tonight because I am getting old and I am now tired. Seeing a movie, going out into the world and seeing people exhausts the fuck out of me. So like, we're going to do this.
That just means you're an introvert.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're old.
Yeah, I was about to say. In fact, you would know this better than anyone because you and I did an orchestra gig a long time ago, it feels like. And every gig that we did where I conducted, I would find the seat in the furthest back of the hall after the concert and just sit there and not talk to anyone because like I just needed to I hate people so much. So that's where I am right now. So let's get started on this. We're talking about Flash a little bit, which the Flash Batman Returns Again is what I've been calling it.
So are we just starting with the news?
Yeah, I put
yeah. So let's talk about Andor.
Yes.
I like that show.
That is a pretty good show.
So a Hollywood Reporter reported that Andor, the show, had a production cost of $250 million.
Which is insane.
That's a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
It was unclear if $250 million was for both seasons or just season one. But either way, that is a shit ton of money.
Yeah, I think it might have been 250. Well, it can't have been 250 million for just one. I don't know. It might have been 250 million is that you're talking feature length major movie, like a theatrical release for a movie.
I mean, it's less than what a Marvel movie gets, but like that's
it's barely less. Is the thing. Yeah. Like well, let's see, what was the budget for? Let's say Spider-Man,
Guardians 3.
Okay.
Spider-Man would be a bad example because animation always costs a shit ton. 250 million. Okay.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
That's insane. Now, there's a part of this that really surprises me and doesn't really surprise me. The part that doesn't surprise me is that they filmed everything on location, and everything looked really fucking good. And they had some some pretty good cast. I don't know why my brain can't come up with the word cast, but the cast members
phenomenal actors.
Yeah, but not just phenomenal. Because you can be phenomenal, not very well known, and kind of make your way in a show like this. But they have like Stellan Skarsgård and fucking Diego Luna and
Andy
Serkis. Yeah. I mean, that's probably where 240 million went. It's just him. They're like, okay, we're going to give you $240 million and we're not going to put tracking dots on your face. He's like,
I'm in. He's like, I would have done it for 24 cents.
Yeah.
As long as you just put,
just
show my
off.
fucking face.
Please. I don't have a face that's pretty to look at, but I am a really good actor.
Andy Gilroy was quoted in this saying that essentially he couldn't have made the show with any less money than what he got.
Yeah.
Which makes sense when you consider the scale and like we were talking about the actors and
the length of the episodes.
Yeah.
It makes sense it would cost that much money just because it was like I'm sure the post-production took a lot longer because they had to edit full-length episodes, which I'm sure Disney Plus isn't used to fucking doing because all of their episodes are 4 minutes and that's it and you're fucking done.
Yeah. But yeah, they also mentioned that it's a deal that kind of happened in the initial boom of streaming and that now that things have kind of collapsed a little bit, you probably couldn't get this done today.
Yeah.
For which we should be very thankful that it got done at all because holy shit, Andor was really good.
Yeah. The problem that they're going to run into is that people are going to now expect Andor season 2, which we know is happening, to be of comparable quality.
Yeah.
And to have comparably sized episodes, like full length episodes, shot on location. Like, cause you can, at this point, look, when season 1 of Mandalorian came out, I remember being flabbergasted by the idea that they were just sitting in a room with a TV as a background. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
That it's a really fancy TV room.
Really fancy TV, really fancy computers creating all the trees and shit.
Yeah.
But it's just a room with a TV in the background.
Now that we've seen like Mando season 1 and 2, Obi-Wan, which was shot a lot on the volume.
Like you can see the limitations of the volume. It's incredible technology and it lets you do a lot of really creative things, but it has its limits.
Right. It's like a tool. You don't use it for every single operation, but you use it where it's needed.
Yeah.
And they weren't using it where it was needed in like Obi-Wan. They were using it for everything. And after a while, the mirage kind of ends and you're like, they're just sitting in a TV room. Like, what the fuck? So when something like Andor comes along and they're like, we're literally in fucking Scotland or wherever the fuck they were.
The Saw Gerrera scenes were, I believe, filmed in this old quarry in England or something.
Yeah. I think they might have actually been in the Highlands of Scotland for the heist sequence. Yeah. That might not have been. Yeah, I can't.
They probably actually went to Daytona Beach for Space Daytona Beach.
Yeah, put a goofy color grade on it. It'll be fucking great. Before we move on, Steven says the Flash was awesome. We have thoughts. We're going to be talking a whole bunch about the Flash after we're done with our Star Wars news. We probably have slightly differing opinions on this, but we'll talk about it.
We'll get there. We promise.
Chris says, "Thank you so much, Daniel, Chris, for your awesome Star Wars content. May the Force be with you. What are your thoughts on new characters for Star Wars Outlaws?" We're going to talk about Star Wars Outlaws
we're going to get there
coming up here in just a second. Yeah. So some bad news. Brace yourself.
I'm ready.
In fact, we should maybe make a recurring segment called Writer Strike Woes because I don't think that this will be the first time that this will be a problem.
This could go on for a while.
Yeah. So for any of you guys like following the news, the people who work as writers in Hollywood are in a union, and just like every union, the organization exists to make sure that the people they represent are fairly compensated and that their working conditions are fair. Without unions, we'd still have 4-year-olds working in coal mines for 18 hours a day or whatever. So what ended up happening was like you are paying our writers literally like just a little bit above minimum wage for the country's entertainment, for huge projects like Spider-Man No Way Home or any big like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Name a movie or TV show it probably had a writer from this union, basically.
Or famously like a lot of really great late night shows that you watch who are kind of the most embattled writers because they have to do something every night and they have to get it out quickly and everything. And
they also have to be funny, which is hard.
Right. It is very hard. Yeah, that's true. Ask Jimmy Kimmel. They don't understand that. Anyway, I don't mind Jimmy Kimmel. So they're on strike now because it makes sense. And because there are no writers,
nothing can get done.
Look, I know a lot of you are out there thinking Kathleen Kennedy is like in her basement writing every script for every Star Wars thing, and that's why everything sucks in your opinion and all this other bullshit. That's not how it works. Like they employ real writers, and those writers aren't working right now. They're just like, I'm not coming to work. So
they're marching in front of the offices with signs saying, pay us our fucking money.
Yeah. And they deserve it. So there are some delays coming up, but remember that this is kind of a small price to pay to make sure that people are paid for the work that they do, right?
In order to make the industry sustainable is the big thing. Because if your writers can't get a living wage and like pay their cost of living from their job, they're not going to keep doing that job. They're going to find another job. Yeah. So if you want movies and TV shows and late night shows and all that shit
with good writers,
writing, you need to pay the writers.
Yeah. And also paying people minimum wage nowadays is criminal. If you pay your workers that, you should go to jail. Anyway, so Star Wars, there's a lot of Star Wars stuff that's being delayed. In particular, the Daisy Ridley thing was originally slated for December 2025 to May 2026, which isn't like a huge, I think it's only 6 months.
That suggests to me that they're still optimistic about resolving this strike relatively soon. I
got some thoughts about that. I think it might have been further along in pre-production than we thought.
That's also possible.
Yeah. The next 7 Avatar movies. So okay, I read this article and it was like Avatar 5, it won't be here until 2031. And it's like,
we haven't even seen Avatar 3.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, I haven't even seen Avatar 2, but that's a different story.
Yeah, it's like, bitch, I don't even know if I'll be alive in 2031. Like, why are we talking about this? I don't think any of us
will, honestly.
So it's like, who the fuck cares about that? Like, sorry, James Cameron. But in the MCU, the Captain America Brave New World is going to be going from May to July next year, which also isn't a huge setback. Thunderbolt's going from shifting to December 2024. Blade, which I thought was a thing, might not even be happening. Apparently it's happening in February 2025, and Fantastic Four is now going to be happening in May 2025. Now, here's the thing.
The only one I memorized because it was so weird that it was being moved up instead of being delayed is Deadpool, which got moved from November of next year to May of next year, which means that it's basically done shooting.
Yeah.
Because you need writers through the shooting process
for reshoots and stuff. Yeah. So look, if I were like a Mr. Burns, I'm very skeptical about this news because I think this might be like a ploy by
negotiating leverage, like the studio is trying to turn the public against the writers.
Exactly. Yes, I think that everyone's going to get real upset about, oh my gosh, I'm going to bitch about Star Wars when it comes out, but god damn it, I want it on time.
Yeah.
And like that's going to get everyone really upset at the writers when really they deserve a fair wage. And if I don't see another Star Wars movie for another 10 fucking years, I don't care. Like it's worth people getting paid to do the work that they're doing. So then we won't have Star Wars to bitch about for 10 years. And what the fuck ever. Maybe we'll learn how to stop bitching about Star Wars.
Maybe the world would be better if we didn't have Star Wars to bitch about.
Yep. So Steven says, let AI write Phase 4.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. AI does not belong in creative arts. I will be on the record of this forever. AI should not be writing things. AI should not be drawing things. AI should not be making music, mostly because AI is really fucking terrible at it.
Yeah. Also, the stuff it's not terrible at, it's very terrifying at. And I don't think we should be fucking with it because there are a couple of people I follow on YouTube that are like pretty smart. It doesn't mean they're right. I respect their opinion, and they're like sounding some alarm bells about AI that they're not saying like, oh, the machines are going to rise up against us or anything, but there are some really subtle issues with AI that people aren't stopped. It's like we kind of run before we walked with it a little bit. I don't think people kind of realize some of the implications, and it's like some like kind of like how we ran before we walked with social media.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of fucked everything. Like it's literally fucked democracy up.
So here's a fun story about AI. AI is not good at finding facts and reporting them to you. AI is really good at lying to you.
Yeah.
So there's this lawyer.
Enjoy it.
I forget what country, but some lawyer who asked an AI search engine, I have this case. Can you give me some supporting evidence?
Oh, I saw.
And the AI invented a bunch of cases and gave it to him. And the lawyer asked the AI, "Are these cases real?" And the AI said, "Yes, they're real."
Yeah.
So the lawyer put those into his brief, and the judge said, "Those cases are made up. Get the fuck out of here."
Which is the equivalent of you going and turning in your final paper and having an AI having written it. Like, that was stupid. Like
he's probably getting disbarred.
Yeah.
This is why, AI might eventually do some cool things. It is not there yet.
Yeah. The industry needs writers, and if you think that shit is bad right now in whatever fandom you want to complain about, it would be worse with writers who aren't in a union. And this is why they haven't done this yet, because it would be kind of easy for them to be like, well, we just won't hire union writers. And the reason they don't do that, first of all, because of the backlash, because depending on where you live, maybe you're kind of force-fed this idea that unions are like evil or whatever. The country as a whole overwhelmingly supports them. So if it weren't for the backlash, what would end up happening is they would hire random fucking people who maybe have a writing degree or something, who maybe are good at writing a certain thing, but shouldn't be entertainment writers. Mm-hmm. And everything will just be really terrible. A really good proof of this is the last writer strike that happened was in the middle, I think, of Lost's run on ABC. And so whatever season that was, I think it was like season 3 or season 4, some of the executives wrote a lot of it. And it's like the season that went into time travel. It was really bad. It just pay them what they're worth, and everything will be fine. You can afford it.
In other news, we talked about the Daisy Ridley film, mm-hmm. and there are rumors, not
super credible.
ironclad, super credible, but from a source who has leaked things before, saying that Disney is looking at Idris Elba to play the villain in the Daisy Ridley film.
Would be fucking great.
I'm here for it. Yeah, Idris Elba is fantastic.
There was a campaign, a grassroots campaign to make him James Bond.
I'd be here for it.
I think it would be brilliant.
He'd be really fucking good.
So he was the bad guy in J.J. Abrams' last Star Trek film, I think, Into Darkness, and was amazing. I think as a villain is really, really great, and is also in this other movie where he's not a bad guy at all. But
has he been in some of the newer Fast and Furious movies?
Wouldn't know. I've not seen them. But there was this indie-ish movie that he was in about.
I think I remember he was in some movie about a plane crash.
Yeah, it's these guys are in this movie, they're horse riders.
Okay.
That they all have horses in the middle of this modern day city, but it's I think it's called Concrete City something or other.
We are
Concrete Cowboy.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. He is a fantastic actor, so mm-hmm. That would be really good. And of course, cue all the man baby sniveling about diversity high.
Oh no, there's a black person in Star Wars. Get the fuck over yourselves.
Yeah. He's objectively an amazing actor. Yeah. In fact, would probably be a pretty good replacement for Kang now that I think about it. If they're wanting to keep Kang a person of color, Idris Elba would be monumentally amazing. Which I don't. What is the deal with that, by the way? Because I know his just for a second talking about Jonathan Majors, I'm pretty sure his management company dropped him.
Yeah,
but the MCU hasn't announced firing.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know.
I'm sure that they're something like Loki season 2. They're oh no, the writer's strike. They're oh thank God, we don't know what we're gonna do about this.
Yeah,
because we literally his face is literally in the last few seconds of Loki season 1. We don't know what to in the movie we just put out.
And now they need to talk it over with their lawyers, with their PR people. They need to do focus groups and all this shit. Because Disney doesn't do anything without triple checking to make sure it's profitable.
Yeah.
So like,
you know what's really shitty. So I don't know about the veracity of the claims made, right? When it comes to abuse cases like this, I personally tend to give the victim the benefit of the doubt until it's clear.
Alleged victim.
Until it's clear that there isn't really good proof. And like a really good example of that, like one of my heroes, Adam Savage was accused of something like this. I know we came off the Me Too movement, and I think it was a really important thing that we started listening to people claiming sexual, because if you're like, oh well, someone can just lie about it, and it's like they can, but that doesn't actually happen as often as you think it does. In fact, it rarely ever happens. But like in this particular instance, I kind of learned a lesson about this, where like some of this is like a case by case basis, because like when you looked into it, and Savage's entire family went up to bat for him, and is like his accuser, who is his sister, is really mentally unwell and has made claims like this before that were false against other people, and it just felt kind of icky, and so like the Jonathan Majors thing, I have not seen anything. Like I tend to give the benefit of the doubt, but I've not seen anything either way other than just these weird text messages that he thought would exonerate him, but actually kind of made him look like a douchebag. Yeah. So I don't know. The thing that I'm really worried about is that Marvel is just waiting for it to blow over so they can just be like, yeah, we're moving on, which also would be equally shitty. Yeah. So
how did we even get here?
Kang.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, it's all Kang's fault. Yeah.
That rascally Kang.
Yeah. So yeah, Idris Elba would be fucking great. Okay, so here's something real big happens. And I was really just last week or the week before, we did a story, or we didn't do it. We're not journalists. We had a talk about how Ubisoft was pushing their Star Wars game to trying to push it to release by 2024. And immediately, because the video game industry has done this so many times, it's like the one character in the Peanuts comic strip with the football. Yeah. They've done this so many times that the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, Ubisoft is pushing a game to development that isn't ready yet. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Because we didn't know how far, we hadn't heard much at all about this.
We didn't even know the title. Really.
Right. So I was like, I mean, they're probably an idiot video game. Like, they're going to do the same thing Ubisoft has always done and fuck something up. Right. So to make me an ass, the next week they're like, here's a gameplay trailer, or not gameplay. Yeah. Here's a cinematic trailer.
So on Sunday, during the Xbox show, they had they showed a lot of games, by the way. Like most of them, I was like, like I don't need to play anime the game. Like that's probably for someone else. That's fair.
But like a couple of them, I was like, all right,
this looks decent.
But yeah, they had this cinematic trailer, and it's pretty.
It looks Star Wars.
Yeah, and so I was thinking, okay, so since the gaming industry does this all the time with the football, where we see a really pretty cinematic trailer and we get real excited and the game comes out, and that's when they yank the football away.
Star Wars Eclipse?
Yeah, which we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah.
There are better examples of games like I think Alien Isolation, where the cinematic trailer was gorgeous. It was like, it looked so good. But when the game came, it was pure dog shit and people got their money back for it. And they lied. They just they lied about it. So I was like...
Then Monday.
Yeah, well, because I was like, all right. So I've seen Star Wars Eclipse. We might never see that game. Yeah. So like, call me when you have a gameplay trailer. And they're like, oh, we're putting a gameplay trailer out tomorrow. And I was like,
you're what?
Okay. Now you have my attention, because while you can cheat a gameplay trailer a little bit, there's less that you can hide in it, right?
Yeah.
So watch the gameplay trailer. the next day.
It was the very last thing in Ubisoft show.
Right. I was like,
you had to sit through 80 minutes of other shit.
I was like, why are you making me watch, what was like the one game where
Avatar the game? You remember that?
Yeah, I didn't realize they're making Avatar.
Yeah.
The one thing, because I know there are a lot of Assassin's Creed fans out there, and I totally get it. Like I never was into it. So when I saw the new one, I was like, whatever. So they made me sit through the whole fucking thing. And then I saw it and I was like, I'll be goddamned. Yeah. That actually looks fucking good. Like, I'm sure they'll iron out some problems with it. But for the most part, I was like, that's a game I would buy and I would play the shit out of that. And
you have a button for your little dog cat thing and tell them to go push buttons.
Yeah, you can drop shit, which is kind of an evolution of like the BD1 thing, where like in Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, BD1 can like toss a healing stem and you can like hack doors. Yeah. But wouldn't it be kind of nice to stick BD1 on someone? Yeah. Like it'd be kind of cool, right? Yeah. And I guess you kind of do on Vader at the end of the first one, but so the trailer came, lots of flashes. So it's firmly established in the spot, that era that they just cannot get away from between Empire and Jedi, right? And it follows a female protagonist, Crimea fucking River. It's really funny, by the way, that they like Jedi Survivor comes out, white dude protagonist. Everyone's like, fuck yeah. Like, I want this story. Female protagonist, all the suspect people are like, I wish I could make my own character. And it's like, just shut up. Just play the fucking game.
Either admit that you're a bigot or just shut the fuck up.
Or, you know what, it's, and I wouldn't even say, I wouldn't say that, like maybe because you can relate more, because like if you're male, you can relate more to a male character. Okay, sure. And it's there's a little bit more immersion there, right?
Are any of them actually saying?
Well, hold on. Just yes, and I'm trying to give benefit of the doubt here, and to make a point. Like I totally get it. You want to play a male character because you're male, and you like to see yourself in games and media.
Okay, yeah. So
stop bitching when they put a gay or a black person in media or video games for people like me. Not that I'm black, but I'm very gay.
Yeah.
Where we like to see ourselves represented in media, right? So if your excuse is, I just want to be a dude, honestly, that's okay. Like that's whatever the fuck. But stop bitching about having diversity, because like that's for everyone else who isn't you. And if you're pissed because everyone's getting something in addition to you getting something, and you're pissed about that, fuck off. Just fuck right off. So like the imagery all over this game is like Rebellion era Star Wars. Yes. There's fucking A-wings flying everywhere. There's a shot of Han Solo and Carbonite.
Sure, yeah.
Because they're like, this is after Empire. That should happen in Empire, remember? You follow a female protagonist who is kind of a scoundrel.
She reminds me of like halfway between Han Solo and Indiana Jones, maybe.
Yeah, and what's really so that you mentioned the Indiana Jones thing. I saw a couple of people like wouldn't it be kind of cool if this was a Dr. Aphra story? And it's like, I mean, sure. Yeah, sure. Like it would make it's a neat concept, but like if you're following the comics, Dr. Aphra is kind of busy right now. Like somehow being kind of friends with Vader, it's very weird. Like
that is weird.
Yeah, he's
Vader doesn't seem like the type who has friends.
Well, you know how he does. Like friends with Vader is like, I won't immediately kill you.
I haven't killed you yet.
Yeah, right. So like Dr. Aphra's got other shit going on, so it wouldn't really make sense with like the canon and everything. You know, the thing that really surprised me, I'm pretty sure Kyle Katarn was in that trailer.
Really?
Yes. And have you not seen this picture?
You mean the dude in the cockpit?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a passing resemblance, but
that's not a passing resemblance. That looks like him. Fucking salt and pepper hair, the fucking shoulder pauldron, the shirt.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm not saying I'm convinced either.
I'm not convinced. I mean, we don't know anything about it. Mm-hmm. However, I see that picture and I'm like, if they're going there, let's fucking go. And so people were talking about how like, well, how would you fit him into canon? Because in Legends, Kyle Katarn's father was a Jedi, which doesn't make a lot of sense actually when you think about it. Since Anakin having a kid was supposed to be a big deal, and he's obviously not Ki-Adi-Mundi's son. So
maybe he was born after Order 66.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And then he ends up getting the Force on accident, really.
Yeah.
Right. And getting his father's lightsaber, and he's like, well, I guess I'll be a Jedi now.
After being a mercenary for the rebellion and, among other things, stealing the Death Star plans.
Yeah, originally that's how the Death Star plans were. If you ever played Dark Forces,
Dark Forces,
the game,
which the first level is you stealing the Death Star plans.
It's just a Star Wars skin of Doom.
Yep,
which isn't bad, but like fucking cool. And then ends up being kind of a formidable Jedi Master who teaches at Luke's Jedi Academy after Return of the Jedi. So I think it would be really interesting. You could fit Kyle Katarn in the new canon.
Sure, yeah.
And you could even do the Valley of the Jedi thing. They could introduce the Valley of the Jedi thing in the super prequel that they're doing.
So I know they've canonized Darth Bane. Have they canonized Ruusan or the Battle of Ruusan?
I don't think so. And have they canonized Darth Bane?
I think he was mentioned as one of the Sith Lords in Episode 9.
Well, I know...
Because like that was where they canonized Revan.
Right. I know Revan, they named the Sith Eternal named their Star Destroyers, I think, or their like units after Sith Lords. I'll look it up. I can't remember if Bane was one of them.
Was mentioned in that.
I mean, they'd be stupid not to make Bane a part of it because like that's kind of everyone's favorite Sith. Yeah. He's kind of a badass. But they could totally plug him in and have it work. And then have him be like, there'd be a little bit of retconning involved. Have him either survive Kylo's attack on the Jedi Academy or just having been killed in it.
And honestly, I'd be fine with either.
Yeah. So I think that'd be really cool. So apparently you've got one of the ninja battle droids as a companion, which I like this idea of these repurposed Clone Wars era droids that are just like coming back because they're like we're real people.
Because there were millions of them made. Sure, like not all of them went to the scrapyards on wherever.
And as we know in Star Wars, like droids are sentient beings. I don't know how they get away with it.
Which is kind of really fucked up when you think about it.
It is because they don't they really mistreat them. But like, it's kind of cool to see one where he's like, I got a fucking duster on. Like, fuck you. Like,
what are you going to do? Fight?
Yeah. There's a shot of a Rancor, which if you're going to do Star Wars, you might as well do a Rancor. Sure. And in the gameplay trailer, just a couple of things before we move on. You do a little thing against the Pikes. You steal something from the Pikes.
You do a little sneak stealthing, you do a little shooting, you jump on your bike, you talk to your contact who's meeting an Imperial officer, and then you have to jump on your ship and escape the Empire.
Ship combat is where they really got my attention with this game because you take off, and in the gameplay trailer, you're in control of the ship all the way through the atmosphere. And I was like,
that's pretty neat.
That is pretty neat. And I'm pretty sure that they have, I might be getting this mixed up with Starfield because Starfield had an entire 40-minute event. Is Starfield the one with the power shunting with your ship? I think so. Okay. So that wasn't this. Okay. So, no. Because this one looks like they literally took the mechanics from Starfighter Assault from Battlefront 2 and just put it in the game, which they're good ship mechanics. So it's like, what the fuck not? Throughout the cinematic trailer, the one planet I recognized was Kijimi, which is in Rise of Skywalker. It's where they go and meet up with Zori Bliss.
Yes.
And Babu Frick.
There was also a shot of what I'm pretty sure is Tatooine.
Or it could be any number.
It was definitely a desert with some like mud structures. Yeah, I think it was Tatooine.
Yeah. So someone pointed out that there seems to be a reputation system, a la GTA or like Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, like when you finish the first mission in the trailer, you lose reputation with the Pikes because you weren't stealthy enough and they knew you were there. Right.
So like that, it's I'm like, all right, fucking give me this game.
Seems pretty neat.
Let me check on this before we move on. I really want better writing before I can ever justify more money. Yeah, it's the thing though, and I think I talked about this during our live stream last night. Don't take offense to this. I'm not trying to be a douche, but I'm not interested in people's opinions on writing unless they can use the right form of there Like, I'm sorry. Like, and I know it sounds a little elitist and it sounds a little douchey, but most 99% of people don't know what being a writer is like. And like, you know, if you go and write a Star Wars fan fiction, it might make you happy to do it, but in reality, it would really suck. And so, like, we're not like, you're allowed to not like a movie, and we can point out writing flaws. This is the problem: is that the shit that you find that are like writing things are almost never the writer's faults. This is the studio stepping in, being like, we focus tested this. Mm-hmm. They didn't like this one thing, so cut it out and make it work. And they're like, that's the
thing that makes the entire rest of the story work.
Yeah, that's the character's motivation. And they're like, fucking change it.
Find a new motivation.
Yeah. So like if you don't know how it works, I'm not super interested in whether or not you think like writing is good or not. I found a plot hole in the Flash. Oh, I'm sure there are.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a time travel thing, so it's like I'm sure there are tons of them. And then Chris says, "Why is there a double standard for women Star Wars characters, but not in other video games or media like Resident Evil?" Well, I think maybe first of all because Star Wars has the worst fan base in the world, but I'm not sure that this double standard is just for Star Wars. I wouldn't grant the premise that it's just for, I think it is everywhere. I think they got away with it in Resident Evil because the character has really big fucking tits. And that's how they get away with it in video games. Yeah. Lara Croft. What's the first thing you remember from old school Lara Croft?
Enormous turquoise polygonal tits.
Yeah. There is a double standard. If you want a woman in your game, you have to want to fuck them. Otherwise, fragile gamer boys won't buy the fucking game, right? It's one of the reasons why. What is the PlayStation exclusive with the woman with a bow and arrow?
Horizon. Yeah,
it's kind of like she's pretty modestly presented, so of course they have a problem with her. And it's like the second, like the trailer for the second, or like artwork for the second game came out, and they're like, why does she have peach fuzz on her face? And it's like, have you never seen a woman before? Like that's what they look like. they have peach fuzz. Like that's the thing that happens. No Battlefront tonight. No.
Nope.
I'm too tired.
Last bit of news.
Yeah. Oh, do we have one more thing?
Yeah. So you remember Star Wars 1313?
Yes.
That was the
game that never was.
Abandoned video game project by EA, rumored for years, finally canceled a decade ago. Jesus. Anyway.
Yeah, it was before they sold Disney.
Yeah.
Or sold to Disney.
So the director of that game to be Dominic Robiliard, probably mispronouncing that, just got hired by Skydance New Media, which is Amy Hennig's studio.
Yeah, which I guess this game is still I guess she's still doing a Star Wars game.
Yep, that's the connection.
Which I like. That's one of those like I'll believe it when I see it kind of things, because they've been talking about that forever. If they end up making it happen, then that's great. But
it's worth noting that before it was shut down, 1313 actually did have a trailer which looked really pretty neat.
I mean, they had a gameplay trailer, like a playable like little piece of the game. It did. It looked fucking awesome.
Like you can go on YouTube and look up the Star Wars 1313 trailer. It looks really good. Yeah. So yeah, it's a neat little connection. Maybe someday we'll actually see the game.
Yeah. Or pieces of it. Kind of like in another game. That's probably more likely. Okay, so we just like a couple of hours ago went to go see The Flash in theaters, and we're going to do a non-spoiler review as we do for a couple of minutes, and I want you to give me, on a scale from 1 dead General Zods to 7 dead General Zods, how many dead General Zods
1 to 7?
Yeah. You're thinking, that sounds awfully arbitrary. It sounds like you just made it up off the top of your head.
I kind of am.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I mean, sorry. I'm rounding from my out of 10 score, so this is about like 2.5.
Okay, so it's either dead General Zod or Batman Lightning Kite.
But yeah, I would give this a 4 out of 10. Yeah. It was aggressively mediocre.
I'm gonna give it what 10-year-old Daniel would have given you, and then what I think.
Okay.
10-year-old Daniel would have given it 7 dead General Zods out of 7 dead General Zods. I give it like 4. out of 7.
Yeah.
Right. That being said, there was a lot of it that was like super mid. However, I was sitting there with a grin the entire fucking time.
Okay.
And it's
fair,
like, you entertained me. So there are movies that haven't done that. So like good for you.
I will say Michael Keaton is very definitely the best part of this entire movie.
Yeah.
Steals every scene he's in, makes the whole thing better by his inclusion.
Yeah, it's certainly the best actor too. Not to say that Ezra Miller isn't a great actor. Who actually, I know that you have a problem with their character a little bit.
Okay, so I can separate the character and the actor.
Yeah.
And the
me too. Yeah.
outside life, because Ezra Miller's a piece of shit in real life.
Yep.
As an actor, Ezra Miller is quite good.
Yeah.
As a character, Barry Miller is aggressively annoying.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why I've never really liked The Flash.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, like I've never really liked him very much. He's just like, here you kind of got a less charismatic Peter Parker thing going on.
it's like compressing the entire cast of Parks and Rec into one character.
Andy Dwyer.
He's just
from Parks and Rec.
He's just so aggressively awkward all the time. And like it's kind of whiplash because like sometimes he's super serious and trying to get shit done, and then he's just so awkward the rest of the time.
So that being said, there are a couple of moments where Ezra Miller gives some really good performances.
Yeah. And
it makes me really sad that they're in the position that they're in right now, because in a world where Ezra Miller didn't assault and sexually harass people, they would probably be considered one of our better like actors.
Yeah.
That being said, that's not the world we live in, and Ezra Miller is a terrible person.
Should probably be in jail.
And certainly should not be working. You should not be starring in films. And if all of the thing, like if all of the news about Ezra Miller getting help, and that this doesn't erase what they did, but hopefully they are getting help. And I hate that that's one of the things that impacted this movie, was you could not be an asshole. So here we are. But I totally agree about the Michael Keaton thing. I think he's the whole reason I went to go see the movie. If they wouldn't have been like, here's a trailer, here's the '89 Batman theme, oh look, it's Michael Keaton, I'd have been like, I'm not seeing that movie. Even if the Ezra Miller stuff wasn't there, because I just don't care about the Flash very much. I'm gonna be real honest with you. Mm-hmm. I don't like DC other than Batman, really. I've never really liked Superman.
Sure, yeah.
To me, Superman's just always
kind of boring.
Yeah. Like none of the DC, and look, I know that like if you're at home, you're like a huge DC fan. I totally get it, and it like they're like you find the thing in that one character that like really resonates with you, and that's how they're written. That's how they're meant to be. They're like they'll get someone out there, right? And I'm not trying to take that away from you. That's in your world, that's fucking awesome. And I'm glad that you enjoy that character. I don't like any of them really, other than Batman. And I think I like Batman so much because my dad liked Batman. I was just kind of like indoctrinated a little bit.
I will say the actress they got to play Superwoman, Supergirl, Superwoman, whatever. She was really good.
I liked her a lot too. What was her name?
While you're looking that up,
it's not Grant Gustin.
No, definitely not.
Sasha Calle.
That's right. Yeah, she was fantastic. Soundtrack was
fine.
Pretty good.
It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
It wasn't Alan Silvestri and Endgame or Infinity War.
No.
And in fact, the composer I didn't even recognize. I looked him up the other day and I don't remember his name. Mm-hmm. But it was fine. And there were a couple of moments.
There were a couple cues that were like borrowed really heavily from John Williams.
Yeah.
Which there are worse people to impersonate.
Yeah.
But
there's a purposeful John Williams quote, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah. Okay.
I think we have to talk about the CG.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
There were some parts, like a lot of the CG is fine. Some of it is really bad.
Yeah. I like how, like when the DC movie started coming out, people were like, oh, it's so dark and gritty. And then like their response was like, oh, we'll just make it obnoxious and garish and really bright. and everything happens at daytime and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not better. That's just on the other end of the spectrum.
It's just easier to see how it looks bad.
And if you're going to put CG babies in your movie, make them look really good.
Yeah, they looked like dolls.
That's the thing, is that like if you're going to put a bunch of CG in a well lit environment that happens during the day, you can't half-ass the CG. That's the whole reason every movie is dark as shit right now, is because they can kind of like hide some of their
fudge it and hide with shadows and things.
So if you don't have that, like it's got to look real fucking good, and it didn't. A lot of it looked fine. Some of it wasn't fine. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't fine. And it's like, this is happening right under the sun, and I can see that is clearly a computer generated baby. It's still cute, but it's still like, it's not real.
It also bugged me that a lot of the time when the Flash was running, like his form is really bad.
Oh, you're not the first person. There is a whole thing about how Barry Allen runs as this version of the Flash. He does this weird, this weird arm flail thing. Yeah, and I think that's a choice that they made, or at least maybe Ezra Miller made for the character. I don't think anyone runs like that in real life.
I'd hope they don't.
Yeah. So let's go through the plot a little bit.
Okay.
I think I said it.
Spoilers. I should mention this movie literally came out today.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, that's fine. If you're planning to see it in theaters, just turn the stream off right now and go see it.
Yeah. This also will be a video that'll be up on YouTube later. So if you're here from the feature, make sure you like the video and subscribe and turn on notifications and all that stuff. Okay. So when I read the reviews for this, one of the things I saw that made me disappointed was this is very much a Barry Allen story. And it wasn't necessarily because I was disappointed that a Flash movie would be about the Flash. It's just that it wasn't going to be about Batman.
There's so much Michael Keaton in the previews.
Yeah. And he is in it quite a bit, but it is a Barry Allen story. And it opens with an action set piece.
Well, it opens with Barry Allen in the coffee shop, not able to get his regular morning sandwich, has like 1 billion calories.
Yeah, right, because he's got his little watch.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, you don't have any calories, you can't use your Flash power. And you're like, God damn it!
I think it's called the Speed Force, which is actually sounds kind of dumber than your Flash powers.
Yeah. So Alfred calls.
Alfred gives him a
Alfred's like, hey, shit in Gotham is on fire. Get over here. We need your help. And Barry's like, God damn it! I just want my sandwich.
Yeah. He's like, wait. Did Batman set the fires? He's like, yeah. He's like, fucking figures.
That fucking guy.
Yeah. And so I guess this has literally no impact on the story at all. But
it's completely disconnected. Yeah. But
so some guys broke into a hospital to steal a virus.
Yeah.
Which they don't keep those at hospitals. Not in a weaponized form.
No.
And Batman was chasing him, and to escape Batman, they blew something up. And so now
the entire hospital's collapsing.
Right. And of course, Batman doesn't stay to help people. He's like, I'm going to go beat the bad guys up. Fucking Barry Allen will take care of everyone else. The thing that really cracks me up is throughout this whole thing, when he's talking out loud, he refers to Batman as Bruce. And it's like,
dude,
there are people around you.
like they can hear you.
Yeah. It reminds me of that. There's a really hilarious scene from Amazing Spider-Man 2 in the Andrew Garfield one, where Spider-Man webs Gwen Stacy to something or something, and then with a bunch of people around goes, Peter, and then realizes what she did, and then covers her mouth, and then realizes everyone was kind of doing their own thing.
Fix it.
Yeah. And it's just it kind of just reminded me of that. So the building starts collapsing, and to raise the stakes,
there's a fucking baby ward at the top that all the babies start falling down.
And so this is actually honestly a genuinely hilarious sequence where each baby falling has its own impending doom. Like the one baby has
scalpels coming towards it.
Literally
acid coming at it.
Yeah, and then the one's got a flamethrower thing and is about to be cooked alive, and there's a therapy dog that's falling too with his fucking tongue hanging out. It's fucking great.
So what does Barry Allen do? He busts open a vending machine, eats every bit of candy inside of it,
right.
Suddenly has enough calories to grab all the babies and the dog, stack them on a stretcher, save the nurse from the maternity ward.
He stuffs one baby in a microwave.
Yeah.
to save him from the flames, which I thought was really funny. This really is like, this is genuinely hilarious. Like it was really great.
Well done scene. It's a good way to start your movie.
The CG was not great. It did not look great. It like the babies, because obviously you're not gonna. It's not like they have stunt babies, right? It's not like they're gonna just toss a baby.
You can't toss a baby out of a building in slow motion.
So I totally get. You got to do CG, right?
Just try to make the babies look less plastic next time.
Yeah, it's just it was a little. But to be honest, there was something about it that made me feel a little at ease, because I feel like maybe if they looked too real, I'd be like, oh no. So Barry saves the day, right? And he actually Wonder Woman saves the day.
Well, Batman is chasing the robbers across town, like cross them the bridge. He eventually beats 3 of the guys up. One of them jumps out of the car to avoid having to deal with Batman.
Which, by the way, this entire Batman sequence, Ben Affleck was not a part of.
Really?
There's no way. Like, he was not in any of these scenes.
Yeah,
his face was.
Yeah.
He was not. And you can tell because Batman's face looks funky as fuck. Like, it's weird, and there's like some uncanny valley shit going on. That being said, he's got some badass moves. Like and I love like the blue cowl and the gray suit and everything. Like that shit was really neat. And he does this neat like jump off his fucking motorcycle and ski on the street, and like the shit from the trailer. Which, by the way, they gave everything away in the trailer pretty much. If you want to go in and watch this movie and be surprised, and you haven't seen the trailers yet, don't watch them, because they really do give a lot of it away.
So Batman fucking like grapples, has the dude in one hand. He's
if it touches he's got the case handcuffed to him.
If the virus falls into the bay, it kills half of Gotham or whatever,
or explodes or whatever. Yeah,
and then fucking Wonder Woman shows up with a fucking lasso of truth and saves the day. Yeah,
like the one Hans Zimmer thing I've heard that I'm like, all right,
that's all right.
Yeah, that's all right.
So she hauls him up on the bridge, and there's a funny sequence where Batman and the criminal are like spouting their truth.
They do the lasso of truth gag, which they did in Justice League, but they cut out for the Snyder cut,
of course,
because it was a little goofy, and Batman goes on about how he's like, my ego would never allow me to thank you, and he's like, my dead parents, and like the criminal's like, yeah, I actually like had shit like that in my childhood too. And I thought it was really funny that like they're probably more alike than they, like the criminal and Batman are probably a little bit more alike than they thought.
I mean, that's Batman's gag with every one of his villains, isn't it? Like, what? He's more like his villains than either of them want to admit.
Yeah, probably. And then for some reason, Barry throws himself into the mix. Yeah, he's like, I'm going to touch the rope.
Help untie him. He's like, I'm a virgin.
Yeah, pretty much is exactly what he says. So they save the day. Everyone's fine. No one dies. But at least there are no babies that die. And there is a conversation. He talks to his dad, who famously Barry Allen's father was accused of his mother's murder and is sent to prison. And he has an appeal coming up the next day. And Barry, like his father has kind of resigned himself. He's like, I'm going to be here forever. Yeah. Like, you need to move on with your life. You need to go fix this virgin thing. Everyone's real embarrassed about this.
Isn't that one girl you knew in college? You should fucking give her a call.
Right. And then the next time you go and touch the lasso of truth, you'll have something interesting to say.
I had sex last week.
Yeah. And so he's like, don't stop worrying about me. And he can't. He's unable, because he knows like one of those like personal truths. He knows his dad didn't do it. And the thing that pops up a couple of times is that like the exonerating evidence would have been
there's security footage that shows that his dad was in a grocery store at the time his mother was killed,
right?
But the footage doesn't show his face,
right? Because I guess Bruce Wayne personally writes an algorithm for a program and like restores this old archival footage they had.
But his dad was wearing a hat, so you can't see his face in the store.
And so he relives what happens to his mother, which I thought was actually one of those moments where it felt really real. And Ezra Miller's performance was actually really, really good. And so we kind of see what happens. We see the relationship between young Barry and his mother, and how like loving of a family he had, and just how like I think that maybe they hinted at the fact that maybe Barry feels carries some of the guilt, because when his dad tells him to call 911, he runs away, like he runs out of the house. So maybe he also thinks he's partly responsible because he wasn't able to get help or anything. Which ends up leads to a conversation he has with Bruce Wayne.
Well, first he runs so fast, he almost breaks through and goes to the past.
Right.
But then he's kind of catapulted back into the present.
This should not, this is a weird thing about how it fits into the established canon, which is not going to be established anymore after this.
Yeah.
Like after this, all this
Everything
is obliterated. So Justice League came out, and at the end they defeat Metallicorn Man, whatever the fuck his name was.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Snyder Cut, some really bad shit happens, and Barry has to turn back time to stop Batman and everyone else from dying. So it feels like in the film, he's discovering this power for the first time, when if you've seen the Snyder Cut, he did this already.
The Snyder Cut isn't canon, though.
Right, but people were swearing that any minute now they were going to canonize
Any minute now, bro.
Yeah. So they like, he's got this similar idea where he can
wait a minute, I can just go back in time and save my mom. Right. And Bruce is like, you don't want to do that. It's going to fuck with shit. If you step on one blade of grass, it could give everybody Ebola and make them die.
This is one thing I get real pissed off about this version of the DC universe. I think not only was Ben Affleck an amazing Bruce Wayne Batman in a shitty movie, I'm really upset for him that, and I can see why he walked away from the project, from being Batman, because he is fantastic. He is so good. And there's this he mentions, like, he's like, I could save my parents. I could go back and save your parents. And he gives Barry this look like, you don't think I've thought about this before. And like, it's just this moment where he kind of like, he's got this, it's like he kind of pities Barry a little bit, and but just for a second he thinks about it, and he's kind of like, wouldn't that be nice, and that's a great performance. For like, this is the shit we could have had in the earlier Batman stuff. Like, we could have had a more complex Bruce Wayne than we had, because honestly, Bruce Wayne isn't very complex in the other movies. Or did they try to make it? That's probably another debate for another time, because like there are actually some good examples of this, but he was, I think most people will agree that Ben Affleck was criminally underused when you consider like his actual acting chops, right? So he's like, you could save them, or you could kill all of existence everywhere in every universe ever. And Barry's like,
I'm willing to take that chance.
Yeah, I'll do it. And so and it's his crush. He has to talk with his crush, and he has a realization while talking to his crush that he doesn't have to go and interact with anyone, because it's like, as anyone who has ever seen Back to the Future knows, is a no-no. He could do something else.
Yes.
Now, since
his dad went to the store because his mom forgot to buy a can of tomatoes for the sauce she was making, so if she doesn't forget the can of tomatoes, he never goes to the store. Nothing ever happens.
And it's kind of perfect. Like, you're like, shit, that actually kind of checks out.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Just do it.
So he speed forces back in time. He's in the store.
Grabs the can, puts it in the cart. She never notices, and that's it.
He fucks off. Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
And he thinks, well, I went back in time in my universe. So I'm going to go forward in time,
and I'll show up in my universe.
I'll go back in time, or I'll go back to where I was.
Forward in time. Yeah.
And when I go to see my mother, she'll be there. And so he gets there and she's alive.
Well, he's running in that direction, and then someone else shows up and punches him.
Yeah.
So hard he ends up he doesn't know this, but a couple of years before where he wanted to be.
Right. Which, by the way, anyone who's ever read or watched the animated version of Flashpoint knows who this is.
This is the Reverse Flash or something like
right.
that.
So yeah, he gets attacked. I like the character design for Reverse Flash. Right? It's pretty neat. But you kind of know if you know the lore, you kind of know what's going on with that. So
he shows up at his house and his mom is there, and he's like, "Oh my God, Mom!" And they have this real touching reunion.
Yeah.
His dad's like, yeah, shit, you look old as hell. What are they doing to you at that school?
Yeah, you got your hair cut. which like, you're like, uh-oh.
Wait, what?
Uh-oh, yeah. They sit down for dinner. He fucking is shoveling shit in his mouth. And
real awkward conversation.
Yeah.
He looks up and he sees himself walking up
with a bag of laundry. Yep.
He's like, shit, I gotta go do something. Hang on.
Yeah. Well, actually, what he said is, I have to go shit. Which is
outside.
Yeah, right. So he goes and
he like tackles himself.
He tries to fashion a mask out of underwear so that like it wouldn't really be an interaction.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work because it's like, that's obviously stupid.
So they're up in his room, right? Him and his 18-year-old self.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so you're telling me that you're me, but older and with superpowers. That's cool. I want superpowers. And Old Barry is like, no, you don't. This shit sucks.
Yeah. Also, you seem like a total dipshit. And I don't think that would be a good idea.
He's like, wait a minute. It just started thunderstorming outside. What day is today? It's the day you get your powers. Shit, it's the day I get my powers. We have to take you to where I was when I got my powers so that you can get your powers.
Right. Because if you don't get your powers,
all of space-time collapses.
I don't know what happened. Right? Yeah, he doesn't know what happened.
I don't know how I get home.
Yeah. So they go to
the forensics lab where he interned as a freshman.
Right. And they set up he sets up the conditions.
The chemicals are here. The chair is here. You just need to sit here. I'm going to open the window and you're going to get struck by lightning. And young Bear's like,
what?
You never said anything about lightning.
Yeah.
So he's like struggling to put him in the chair. And then lightning strikes. It hits Old Barry in the chest. Passes through and hits young Barry, and they both fall down.
One of them loses a tooth.
Yeah. Old
Barry loses a tooth. Not that it literally has, except for the very last scene of the movie, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And they learn that Old Barry has lost his powers and young Barry has gotten powers. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, this is kind of fucked up.
Yeah. It was a neat little twist because I think we all, like, this is one of those moments in the trailer that they kind of led you to believe that they were working on getting other Barry powers instead of original Barry losing his powers, which I thought was kind of interesting. So now,
so they go back to
Barry Prime doesn't have powers.
Yeah, they go back to young Barry's apartment, and Old Barry's like, "Okay, listen very carefully. You have super speed powers. I have super speed powers." Runs around the room. No, seriously, you need to listen to me. You're going to get very, very hungry, and you're going to do a whole bunch of crazy shit. Yeah. And if you run too fast, your clothes will light on fire. And young Bear's like, "Bye," and runs out the door, runs around. His clothes light on fire. He tries to eat shit. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. He like Barry's got a phasing power where he can like phase through the wall and shit. So he learns how to do that and phases into his neighbors like underneath him, and he's like butt naked and shit. And comes back up with a saucepan over his dick. Yeah. So they they wake up the next morning, and he kind of like he shows them how to use the suit, which I thought it was interesting.
The first thing I think is that they start looking for everyone else.
All the other the Justice League. Yeah.
So he looks up Cyborg's real name, and he's just some football player. Yeah. Shit, I guess he's not Cyborg yet. Yeah. Let's look up Wonder Woman. It's this weird performer in
80-year-old magician, yeah.
Okay, let's try Arthur Curry. Oh, hey, there's a lighthouse in Maine with his father's name. Let me just call him. And Arthur's your dog.
Yeah. A great Tamara Morrison cameo, by the way.
Oh, it's Tamara Morrison, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he plays Arthur's father in the Aquaman movies.
Very neat.
And his mother's played by Nicole Kidman? No, it's not Nicole Kidman.
Well, anyway, so they have a sequence where...
It is Nicole Kidman. Oh, shit.
Well, yeah. Okay. So they have a sequence where Old Barry shows young Barry the suit and how to use his powers. And then General Zod starts invading.
Yeah, because he's like, oh yeah, the day after I get my powers, General Zod shows up.
Yeah,
which is a really good connective tissue to Man of Steel. It's pretty much what like the thing that happens in Man of Steel. General Zod shows up and he's like, fucking give me Superman or I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill everyone anyway.
I'm just going to kill everyone. Yeah.
And his plan was because if you've seen Man of Steel, his father hides a genetic codex in Kal-El's like DNA or whatever, and Zod wants to extract it and terraform Earth and turn it into a new Krypton.
Yeah,
in the process of killing
everybody,
all the humans. Yeah.
So finally, Barry's like, "Well, shit. All right, I guess we gotta go find Batman. Let's just fucking go to Wayne Manor. We're gonna find Batman." Wayne Manor is this like weed overgrown, almost ruin at this point.
Yep.
So
very familiar looking mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Barrys go inside and they're like, "Hey, Bruce, you here?"
This is so fucking funny. Like I shat my pants. So like they're going through the whole house, right? And like you can tell this is not a Batman or a Bruce Wayne that's had an Alfred around quite a while, right? And they get to the kitchen, which is a beautiful old style kitchen, and they notice that like there's water boiling in a pot and shit, and they're like trying to figure it out, and like blurred in the background, you see a cabinet door open, and this long-haired, homeless-looking guy crawl out of the cabinet and start whooping their ass, like swinging from the chandelier, and like the one like
kicks the shit out of old Barry because he doesn't have
powers, right?
Young Barry is able to like speed force around it to not get hit.
And lo and behold, like at the end of like he crashes into something, and it's fucking
Michael Keaton,
Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, Bruce Wayne, who's apparently been pissing into jars and like whatever like crazy old men thing, and they're like they kind of explain it to him. They're like Zod's invading. We need Superman, and there's a whole gag of it, like where he's like, "Wow, Superman's kind of on the nose." Like, don't you think?
He fucking flies and shoots lasers out of his dick. That's kind of
and so they're like, "This is how we stop this. This is how we save Earth. Is we go and find Kal-El. Do you want in?" And he's like, "No, pass." See you later.
Well,
gets up and walks away.
First, he pulls out 2 dried pieces of pasta. He's like, okay. So this is what happens with time, right? So you change time, right? You think that just means that you made a slight divergence at that point. What that actually means is that you have changed both the past and the future. Yeah. And like he makes a little cross with him. Like there's this connection at this one point, but like you're not on your timeline anymore.
Yeah, pretty much what he said. His entire lecture is stop getting your quantum physics from Back to the Future. That's not how it works. Yeah. If it's anything we've learned about from comic movies presently, this and fucking Avengers Endgame, that's not how time works. Time works differently, right? So
anyway, this is why I'm Michael Keaton and not Ben Affleck.
Right. Yeah. So does it make sense now? They're like, okay, but so do you want to help us? And he's like, no, I think I'm done now. I've eaten a little spaghetti. I am actually 109 years old, and now I'm kind of achy.
I'm retired. Yeah. Get the fuck out of my house.
There's a really great line about how he like Barry's like we need Batman, and he's like, no one needs Batman anymore. Gotham City's crime free, which as an idea is kind of crazy when you think about how much of a shithole Gotham City is, and the fact that Michael Keaton's Batman achieved his goal. He eliminated crime in Gotham City, and so that he just cooks pasta in his house now. That's just what he does. Yeah. And so he fucks off. Mm-hmm. And what's really funny is he doesn't even tell him to get out. He's just like, I'm going to a different room in this giant house. So Barry's like, okay, if Batman doesn't help us, fine. We'll just take all of Batman's shit.
We'll just find Superman ourselves.
Right. So they go to a hidden entrance, which apparently must be constant through all the universes, to a secret entrance to the Batcave. And so they go down there, and it's the fucking Batcave from Batman 89. And I swear to God, these scenes like were written for me. Yep. Because every part of it is so familiar, and it's so fucking cool. There's a gag where he pulls the cover off the Batmobile, which is my favorite Batmobile.
And it's literally just the Batmobile from A9.
Yeah. And they turn the Bat computer on. There's a really funny gag where New Barry speeds around to look at everything. And he pulls out, he's like, oh, what is this? And it's like a little silk bag that's laughing, which is, if you've seen 89 Batman, in the very last, or one of the very last scenes of the movie, after Batman murders the Joker, which he does, he falls hundreds of feet onto the concrete. And when they find his should have been disfigured body, there's a goofy laughing sound, and they pull it out of a tape recorder that's in this little bag in his jacket. And that, like, he's just like, what the fuck is this? And it's the same fucking thing, right? Which I was like, oh. And then, like, when he's speeding around, there's he almost, the Batmobile
almost runs off the Batmobile.
Yeah, the Batmobile's parked in a very unwise place. And this is a callback to 89 Batman when he takes Vicky Vale to the Batcave. The second time Alfred just shows her in when he's not in costume and like blows the whole thing. And she almost falls off the edge too. And I think it was also really cool, as the lights are turning on, there are just like hundreds of bats just like everywhere. And it makes sense now because he probably hasn't been down there in decades. So like, it's, so he starts using the Bat computer. Mm-hmm. And what he's trying to find is...
he's trying to look for the Kal-El he knows. So he starts searching for Clark Kent, and then he tries to cross-index from all the NASA UFO entries sightings in Kansas. Yeah. And he's working really hard, and he's not really getting anywhere because there's just like a billion Clark Kents.
Idiot Barry falls asleep in the Batmobile, which is like... I get it. That's what I would do. Yeah. It's like I'm never sleeping anywhere else in my life.
Old Barry looks up at the webcam and says, "Look, you fuckhead. Like, I'm trying to save the entire fucking world here. Can you just throw me a bone?" Like,
yeah. And he's like, the thing that I don't understand is like, you had an Alfred. My Batman had an Alfred. There are all these things that it's these canon event things from Spider-Verse, which are all these similarities in all the different universes that must be there. And it's not based on science. It's a storytelling thing to be like, this is why everything is pretty much the same, but a little bit different. Right. And I thought it was a really, he has a pen that has a little inscription from Alfred on it, which Michael goes, Alfred was famously beloved in the older Batman movies, was in all of them, from 89 to George Clooney's Batman. And so, of course, like, what's really funny is he turns to the camera, he's like, "Motherfucker, I know you're watching me." And he's sitting there with his cup of coffee, and he's just watching him and everything. And he does a good call to action. He's like, "What the fuck, man? Let's
save the fucking world." Yeah, man. Come on.
So, and he mentions one of the canon events being Bruce's parents, right? And so Bruce turns around, and for a second you think he's just going to lovingly stroke the picture of his parents on and he's just like, he like goes to touch and just slaps it aside and hits a button. Yeah, and
he retinal scans him, and he goes
full bookcase. Yeah, and it's his like costume vault. Which this was also from the trailer. They shouldn't have spoiled it. This would have been an awesome moment, not knowing it going in. There's his like most recent bat suit, but also the bat suit from 89. And it's that one because when Joker pulls out his 9-foot pistol and shoots him, when he crawls out of the wreckage of the Batwing, his suit's all fucked up, and the emblem on his chest has this really recognizable mark on it, right? And it's that. Also his bat suit from Batman Returns, which is like the more Art Deco styled lines and shit. And there are a few more. There's like a Halo drop one where it was got like a glider on it or something, and then there's like a actually the one looks like do you remember like have you seen Justice League, right?
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck has that vision of Darkseid taking over with his parademons, and he's out in the desert with his goggles and a gun shooting demons and shit. It looked a whole bunch like that, actually, like a desert warfare Batman. And the one that I thought was really neat is a Batman the Animated Series Batman, which with the blue cowl and the gray suit and everything, which I thought was just fucking great. So
Old Barry passes the fuck out doing Google searches on the Bat computer. He wakes up, and there's a little folder from Bruce, who has done all the research and found out that
just in a matter of like a couple hours, figured it out.
The alien they're looking for is in Siberia at this Russian black site.
Right. And if you're thinking, wow, that's really convenient for the plot, remember, it's the world's greatest fucking detective. Yeah. Like, it probably took him 10 minutes.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, cool, we're going to Russia. And Young Bear's like, how the fuck are we getting to Russia? And then
I thought you'd never ask.
The Batwing comes out of the ceiling, and Bruce is like, get in, bitches, we're going to Russia.
There's a really funny part where he shows up in the suit, and like Barry Prime is like, oh, what a badass, and like idiot Barry like passes out, and he makes he makes a comment earlier about seeing the Batmobile on the news when he was a kid, which I thought was a really neat like that Barry Allen existed in the '89 Batman, which I like. That's kind of a neat thought. So they fuck off to Russia, and then honestly, a badass looking Batwing.
Yeah,
like there's a $40 toy of this, like a big thing at Target, and I am buying it. It's gonna go somewhere in here.
So there's a shot where like they're parachute dropping to this base in Russia, and there's the shot of the Batwing outlined by the moon, and they're all
actually that so they like